rid of him somehow?
Yeah, I think it fits with the context. I think that's exactly what's going on. They're trying to make it harder for him to stay in the land. This is an arid land, okay? And so you have to have wells for your animals, for your livestock. And so this is a big problem if you don't have wells. So they don't stop up their wells, obviously, but they stop up the ones that Isaac has, the ones that Abraham had, so that Isaac doesn't have any water for his flocks and herds. Nothing here indicates that Isaac was trying to take their water, but he's trying to build new wells. So verse 16 says that Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you're much mightier than we." So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham, and he gave them the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that also. So he called its name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called his name Rehoboth, saying, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." What it looks like on a map is that Isaac is being moved further and further away. He digs a well, they quarrel over it, he moves on. He digs a well, they quarrel over it, he moves on. Finally, he digs a well, and when they don't quarrel over it, then he's found a place. So he goes up to Beersheba, and notice this is important, verse 22. For now the Lord has made room for us. You know that he's gone through all these struggles, and the solution, he immediately gives credit to God for it. There's something about what I really like about the patriarchs is that they credit God for their success, and then they worship. They get success, they give God thanks, and they worship. So he goes from there to Beersheba in verse 23, and the Lord appeared to him the same night. I'm going to move on to the next slide here. There. 23 to 25, from there he went to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and will bless you, and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake." So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And Isaac's servants dug a well. When Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzzah, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army, that's got to be a little bit intimidating. Philistine army is coming, with the commander's coming, and I guess you would call him the king, and the advisor. And Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you?" And they said, "We see plainly that the Lord has been with you." So he said, "Let there be a sworn pact between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you, and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. And in the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths. And Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. When Esau was, this is the last part of chapter 26, it leaves on kind of an ominous note. When Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, to be his wife, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. So there's this struggle that's going on between Esau and Jacob. They're not close, and there's the struggle is brought on partially by the fact that Rebekah prefers Isaac, and Rebekah prefers Jacob, and Isaac prefers Esau. And we're going to see how that plays out in chapter 27, which is where we're going. So this is the part I was talking about that I really struggle with. We'll look at this in segments. Verses 1 to 4. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son," and he answered, "Here I am." He said, "Behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me delicious food such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." So one of the things that strikes me about this is actually Isaac lives quite a few years after this. But he does hasten to say that he doesn't know the day of his death. I'm thinking that there's a possibility here that Isaac wants to bestow the blessing upon Esau, so everything is taken care of, because there is a struggle between Esau and Jacob. And so I'm wondering, actually they've been struggling since the womb. And I'm wondering if that's why he's in a hurry to do this. So anyway, he tells Esau, who he loves Esau because Esau is a hunter and he loves his game, the game that he brings in. And he tells him to get his weapons, his quiver and his bow, and go hunt game and prepare it. And the way I like it, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. While this is going on, Rebekah is listening. When Isaac speaks, and one of the quick questions that comes to my mind is, does Isaac know that Esau sold his birthright? Did Isaac take it seriously? Maybe he didn't even take it seriously. Or maybe because he favored Esau, he just wanted to make sure that Esau got the blessing regardless of what took place between Jacob and Esau. But we do know from Genesis 25 that Esau is his favorite. We have several instances in Scripture of favorite children, favorite wives, favorite. In almost all those situations, it ends up causing trouble. It almost always creates jealousy. So 5 to 10, this is Rebekah's plan, and this is where it gets really difficult. Now, Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 good young goats, so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. You shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies." So the deception begins with Rebekah, who's listening in when Isaac speaks to Esau. And she devises a plan to trick her husband into giving the blessing to Jacob instead of Esau. She goes behind her husband's back, decides to deceive him, pulls her son Jacob into this whole conspiracy. That's the first thing that just really I don't quite grasp. I understand it, but I don't. It seems so wrong. The second thing about this that my father was a hunter. There's not any meat that I ever had that tasted like goat. Except goat. I've had goat. But it doesn't taste like venison. It doesn't taste like, so I think that would be the first thing Isaac would notice. But it may be because it's described somewhere as savory meat. My mother could make anything my dad shot not taste gamey at all. Tastes like something you bought in a store. She was great at that. She had the ability to do that. She was a great cook, and she used spices and things to make food taste like what we were used to, because she knew that we would, young kids, we wouldn't like some of the food. So I have eaten it when other people fixed it, and I've eaten it when my mother fixed it. The way my mother fixed it, it tasted fine to me, but the way other people fixed it, it tastes really gamey. So I don't know, but apparently Rebecca's deception goes as far as to make sure she fixed this food so that it would seem like Esau's food, that it would have that same, lots of spices. I agree. I can't. That's pretty amazing, because Isaac particularly likes Isaac's food and the way he fixes it, and Rebecca fixes it, and she uses goat, and is able to make it in a way that he doesn't know that it's not Esau's food. But anyway, beginning in verse 11 to 13, Jacob is concerned about being caught. So here's where it continues. The struggle continues for me. Jacob's not concerned about deceiving his father. He's concerned about getting caught and getting cursed instead of blessed. But Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, verse 11, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing." Her response is, "Let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go and bring them to me." So Jacob is worried, but he's not worried about deceiving his father. He's worried about getting caught. Let's pick up verse 14. This is the deception all set up here now. So he went and took them and brought them to his mother. His mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goat she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went into his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" So he's got on Esau's clothes, so he smells like Esau. He smells like the field, like somebody who's been out in the field hunting. He has the uh, fleece of the goats, and I read up on this that these are, they call them camel goats. So they've got hair, like it's not like you know the difference between wool and a person's hair, but they have hair on them. So he's got his hairy hands and hairy neck. He smells like Esau, and yet there's still going to be, his father's still going to be suspicious. So here's the first lie, just bold-faced lie. Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game, that your soul may bless me. I want you to see the suspicion that's going on here. I'll come. Verse 20, Isaac said to his son, how is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? He answered. Here's the second lie. Because the Lord your God granted me success. Now, somebody may question that, say that God may be involved in helping him get his birth blessing, but the question really was, how did he get the game so quickly and do what God had said, or what Isaac had said? And he tells him that God granted him the success to do this. Then Isaac said, Jacob, please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not. So he's questioning this. He can't see. I think he thinks, I really think if you read this, that he thinks that this might be Jacob, but all of his senses are telling him that it's Esau, that it's Esau. He smells like Esau. He's got hair like Esau. The game is like Esau's. And Esau, he comes in response to what Isaac had said. So everything says Esau, but his senses are telling him Jacob. And this is why I know, because he says in verse 22 that Jacob went near to Isaac, his father, who felt him and said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So he's clearly, Isaac is in a struggle here. He wants to give this blessing to Esau. Some of his senses are saying this is Jacob, but he brought the food just like he told Esau. He smells like Esau. He feels like Esau. So, verse 22, Jacob goes near, verse 23 says he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy, his brother's Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, are you really my son Esau? Here's the final lie. I am. Jacob says, I am, to his father Isaac. Then he said, bring it near to me, that I may eat of my son's game and bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come near and kiss me, my son. So there's still some question here, because he came near and kissed him, and Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. So he has sought out every possible way to confirm that this is Esau, because Jacob and Rebekah's deception was so good. He's fooled. They fool him, and he makes a judgment that he is in fact Esau. So he blesses him with this blessing in verse 30 and 31. No, 28 and 29. May God give you the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. Quite a great blessing. And the important part of this is the firstborn was the one to whom the authority passed on. And that's part of the blessing here. So he has authority over the family and over his brothers. And essentially, he has everything that he wanted. At verse 30, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, when Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also prepared delicious food and brought it to his father. Wow, this had to be a terrible realization for Esau. And he said to his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me. And Isaac said to him, who are you? He answered, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. Then Isaac trembled very violently. So this is when Isaac realizes he's been betrayed by the people that he loves. I know I sound harsh about this, but I can't wrap my mind around the extent of this deception and betrayal. Not because I feel sorry for Esau, but because I don't understand how Rebekah and Jacob could do that. Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me, and I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him? Yes, and he shall be blessed. So Esau hears the words of his father, and he cries out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry. And he said to his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. But he said, your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing. And Esau said, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. And then he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Now, obviously, Esau's perspective is wrong. He didn't cheat him out of his birthright. Esau offered it. He offered to give it up for something to eat. He didn't argue about it. So he actually gave away his birthright. Hebrews says he despised his birthright. So he's wrong about that. But this time he's right. He did cheat him the second time. And the only justification you could say is that he already deserved it. And so he deceived his father to get what was rightfully his, Jacob. But it's a stretch for me. So Isaac says to him, behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be. Quite a different blessing here, okay? Away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. Because he gave all that to Jacob. By your sword you shall live, you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. So that's the end of this whole plot that Rebekah made with Jacob, and how he deceived his father Isaac to get the blessing. Verse 41, Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him, and Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching, then I will kill my brother Jacob. So he is going to wait until his father is gone, and then he wants to kill Jacob, and presumably have the inheritance and the blessing that he feels he deserves, or the birthright. But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban, my brother, in Haran, and stay with him a while until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets about what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereft of both of you in one day? Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be to me? So I think going to Haran is a twofold. She wants Jacob to pick a wife. She wants Jacob to have the opportunity to marry someone like her, from her family, from his family, and not marry a Hittite. But she's also concerned for his life, concerned for his safety. She doesn't want to lose Jacob and then lose Esau because he killed his brother. She doesn't want to lose both of them. So she ends up sad, even though the deception part of it, she had a big part in. Through all of this, one of the things that comes out and shines through this is all the ups and downs that we're going through with the patriarchs. The promise is not altered. The promise continues on. And that, we can say that of all the promises of God. They're going to happen no matter what. They're going to be fulfilled no matter what we have to go through. Nothing we go through changes the promises that God has made to us. So, looking back at this, what are your comments and about the story? One of the things that, and I'm looking at some Marty, you've taught this, I'm sure taught this lesson to kids. Okay. Does anyone notice that it's pretty deceptive?
You mean of the children?
Of the children, yeah.
Not really. I don't think that I presented it in a way that would make them think it was deceptive.
Okay.
Perhaps. They were very young kids. Unless you're talking about our kids.
Oh, well, I'm thinking back. I'm trying to remember. I know this came up. I know we've covered this in our devotionals and stuff like that over the years, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it isn't a first-time thing. This has always disturbed me, not because I think, I guess the thing that disturbs me, it sort of reminds me of the Abraham and Isaac saying their wife was their sister, but I don't think those are serious as this, because this involves Rebekah deceiving her husband and drawing her son into deceiving his father. Very significant thing. And even though she knows that he is the one, yet the way she goes about it, I was reading some commentators, and they were saying she was justified because God told her in the very beginning, when Jacob and Esau came out, that the older would serve the younger, and I understand that. But at the same time, we don't have any indication, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the indication, but we don't have any indication that God spoke to Rebekah. It appears that she devised this on her own. It seems like what it reminds me of a little bit is Sarah giving Hagar to Abraham to fulfill the promise. But only there wasn't deception involved in that. But that issue of trying to make something happen that you know is right, but not doing it by the best means. And this clearly doesn't seem the best means, in my mind anyway. Any other comments? Anybody else?
Yeah, Kerry, something that I noticed here
Yeah.
was that I never really looked at before was when to laterally relate Rebecca and Isaac to Abraham and Sarah is when Rebecca was over listening, just like when Sarah was over listening about the promise.
Yeah.
It's something that stuck out to me.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody? Go ahead, Frank. I can see you thinking.
I was impressed with a statement in chapter 25, verse 27. It was when the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a peaceful man living in tents. There's a hyphen next to peaceful, was literally a complete man. There's something about the nature of Jacob. It's indicating that he was a nice guy. And the prophecy that was made directly by God to her, to Rebecca, it's there. It shows that God is, I personally feel that God is working what this prophecy is, and he's allowing human beings to do some things that are flat out wrong, but to show that Jacob is a good guy, and he swindled his brother out of the birthright, but he's also fulfilling the prophecy without even knowing it. That he is going to be the one. But he could have said to the brother, "Hey, yeah, have some soup, will you? I don't have to connive you about birthrights." But it just shows that God's will is being worked out, and he can use and he will use allow people to do certain things that fulfill his prophecy without him actually stepping in and causing it to happen. It doesn't mean in any way that his brother Esau is going to be kicked out of the kingdom of heaven, or he's condemned to hell forever. It doesn't mean that at all. Just because Jacob is going to be the one that the blessings will come through doesn't mean that Esau can't be part of those blessings. I
totally agree with you. That's absolutely true. None of these, a lot of these things had nothing to do with their eternal state or their relationship with God. That was up to them, and the way they dealt with it. I just, and again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that there's wrong with God doing this, because God, whatever God does is right. Okay. My human side of the humanity of me struggles with the deception, because there's so many passages about being deceptive and lying and how much God doesn't like it. And Isaac is his patriarch here, and Rebecca completely goes around him to get this job done. Clearly, I believe with absolutely that Rebecca thinks she's doing the right thing because God told her who was going to be in charge. If I had a verse that said, and God told Rebecca to devise a plan, it would make me feel a lot better. But I don't have that verse. And so, but again, all through Scripture, we see God using things, even his people's mistakes, to bring about a good result.
Yeah.
And that's what appears to be taking place here.
What's really nice later on is when Jacob finally meets Esau again after leaving Laban, and Esau grabs him and hugs him and kisses him and cries. Both of them are crying with each other because Jacob thought he was going to be murdered on the spot, and he's bringing all kinds of gifts and everything to warm the brother up. But the brother, we're led to believe that in all of this, Esau's a pretty nasty guy. And in reality, he couldn't wait to see his brother again.
Yeah, he actually, his responses to Jacob is great. I mean, the way he welcomes him, and
so it's interesting how, if I was watching this and saying, wow, Esau accepted everything. He came to have a peace about all of that, and literally had no problem with it in their way that they greeted each other and
right.
the customs of the day. But he kind of like forgave it all and said, okay, you're my brother, let's get on with it. Let's be family.
Yeah.
Really interesting to see how he handled it. Anyway.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, it was a good lesson, Kerry.
Thank you, Ben.
Oh, and Kerry?
Yes?
And listen, that youth initiation outing at the building next Sunday, well, that'll ultimately depend on the weather.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's going to have a
Things have been known to change too,
Yeah. Yeah, that could happen. I know once or twice I've planned something and it hasn't turned out, so.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions before we close? If not, I will wish you all a great week.
Yep.
A fantastic Labor Day celebration. But be safe, please, because the kids are going back to school and.
Yeah. It's the 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry.
Happy
Yep.
holidays.
Welcome.